In the wild, an approach can turn into an attack within seconds. A lion closes distance and initiates the attack based on timing and position. When distance or terrain changes, the attack can lose control immediately. From open ground to the water's edge, each contact point creates a direct response to the attack. In these moments, the result depends on how the attack is executed and how quickly the response is made. In open ground, the scimitar-horned antelope maintains a very steady reaction when sensing danger nearby. It doesn't turn its back too quickly, always keeping its head facing its opponent. Its long horns are positioned in front to control distance and prevent close approaches. This calmness makes approaching difficult from the start. From the outside, the lion begins to stalk, then suddenly accelerates to close the distance. It constantly changes direction, aiming for a safe entry point, but the scimitar-horned antelope always turns its face accordingly and keeps its horns pointed in the correct direction. Each attempt to get close is blocked before it can gain an advantage. There is no safe enough space for the lion to continue pressing. When the acceleration doesn't produce a change in direction, the lion is forced to stop and retreat. The scimitar-horned antelope maintains its posture, preventing the distance from being broken. The approach ended when the lion was unable to find a clear path forward. The scimitar-horned antelope maintained the upper hand, forcing the lion to retreat. Amidst the slow but steady movement of the herd, elephants instinctively protect their young with both position and physical strength. The mother always maintains a very close distance, lowering her head when sensing danger and ready to block the path ahead. Her large size and powerful thrust allow her to control the space in front of her without retreating. This stability makes any approach risky from the start. On the outer perimeter, lions begin to stalk and form a circle to try to separate the young from the mother. They don't choose to confront the mother directly, but move around, waiting for a gap to appear. But each time the distance narrows, the mother steps forward, lowers her head, and blocks the path straight ahead. The lions approach and then slow down, as there is no safe angle to get close. When the distance is not broken, the lions cannot maintain the pace of approaching as planned. There was no clear point of separation, nor a sufficiently opportune moment to press further. The elephant held firm, while the lion gradually abandoned its attempt to advance. The approach ended with the formation intact, and the calf not isolated. The difference lay in one side preventing the formation from being broken. One side attempted to create a separation, while the other did not retreat and did not leave any gaps. When the mother-calf bond remains unbroken, the entire encirclement tactic becomes ineffective. In nature, Maintaining the right position at the right time can determine the entire outcome. Beneath the calm surface of the water, the crocodile maintains its ambush hunting instinct with great patience and an extremely quick reaction at close range. It doesn't need to move much, just stay low and wait for the right moment to spring up. In this environment, the advantage doesn't come from long-distance speed, but from precision in the first moment. The silence of the water makes the danger zone difficult to recognize. At the water's edge, the lion lowers its head to drink, significantly reducing its ability to observe its surroundings. It moves closer to the danger zone without noticing any clear signs. The moment the distance is close enough, the crocodile springs straight up from underwater, creating a sudden, almost vertical impact. The stillness is instantly broken, and the lion loses its advantage from the very first second. After the initial reaction, the lion recoils and tries to maintain its balance to avoid being pulled deeper into the water. It lacked clear openings to counterattack and quickly realized the current environment was no longer suitable for confrontation. The crocodile didn't need a long chase to maintain its advantage from a very short distance. The confrontation ended when the lion withdrew from the water's edge for safety. In this section, the deciding factor wasn't reputation or strength on land. One side simply waited for the right moment, while the other lost its advantage the moment it entered a disadvantageous environment. When the space changes, the entire response changes as well. In nature, the environment often determines the outcome even before the actual confrontation begins. In the moving formation of the herd, buffalo maintain close spacing and constantly monitor their surroundings. Those on the outer perimeter are ready to turn at the first sign of change. Their strong horns help maintain distance and protect the center. A state of alertness is maintained even when the grassland surface is calm. At the edge of the herd, a young lion shifts its attention to a small target and slows its observation pace. It lowers its body, approaches, and maintains its approach. Meanwhile, from the sidelines, a buffalo changes direction and accelerates directly. The distance is rapidly reduced, leaving no time for adjustment. Contact occurs before the young lion can stabilize its posture. It is pushed back from its position and loses its approach rhythm. The buffalo maintains its distance, preventing any gaps from opening. The young lion leaves the area when it can no longer close in. The sequence of events shifts from stable to intermittent in a very short time. Reduced attention allows for a direct response to emerge. When distance changes abruptly, the approach is no longer maintained. In nature, maintaining continuous observation determines the ability to retain an advantage. In the open expanse of the grassland, wildebeest move in groups and maintain close coordination. When cornered, they don't just run. They can maintain their posture and face each other for a short time. Their curved horns help control distance. The rhythm of movement is maintained while waiting for the opportune moment. While the herd continues to move, two lions choose a steady approach and keep their target under control. They slow the prey's pace, but don't finish it off immediately. The brief pause changes the rhythm of the situation. The wildebeest stops, turns, and faces directly. When the distance is close enough, the horns sweep against the leg of one lion. The approach is interrupted, and both lions must separate from the target. The wildebeest maintains its posture for another beat before moving away from the danger. The distance is reopened, and the direction of movement is restored. Immediately after the initial reaction, the situation no longer maintains its original course. The delay in approach opens the door for a counter-reaction. When the prey turns around at the right moment, the approach is interrupted and cannot continue as before. In nature, controlling the pace of movement determines the ability to maintain an advantage. Besides a newly discovered resource, the rhinoceros displayed a very direct and stable survival response. It didn't retreat, but actively maintained its position and constantly turned its head toward any nearby movement. Each advance was aimed at protecting its distance and control of the area. This proactive approach made any approach difficult to sustain. On the outside, the lion didn't leave but circled around, cautiously waiting for a small opening. It kept its distance, tried changing direction, and gradually approached, but each time the rhinoceros charged straight ahead and pushed it back immediately. The lion dodged and retreated, then approached again. The cycle of pressure, retreat, and return continued without a breakthrough. After many attempts to approach, the lion still couldn't find a safe enough opening to sustain its attack. The rhinoceros doesn't need a direct hit to maintain control through consistent reactions. The distance in front of it is always maintained, while the lion gradually accepts staying out of the danger zone. The confrontation ends when the rhinoceros holds its position, and the lion gives up on venturing further. When both sides maintain a consistent reaction rhythm, the confrontation begins to stop at a safe limit. One side steadfastly holds its position, the other remains but cannot afford to take risks. When no mistakes occur, the confrontation becomes simply a test of endurance and risk tolerance. In nature, sometimes keeping the opponent out of reach is the clearest way to win. In the rapid and continuous movement of the pack, African wild dogs maintain very close coordination between each position. Each individual maintains an appropriate distance and adjusts to the common signal without becoming isolated. When pressure arises, the reaction occurs almost simultaneously in multiple directions. This synchronization helps the entire pack maintain a stable structure in all situations. A lioness approaches and begins to pressure the formation. The pack of wild dogs does not retreat, but slightly separates the formation to both maintain distance and surround from multiple sides. When the lioness accelerates and controls a target, the pack's reaction rhythm immediately changes. The directions of movement simultaneously reverse, forcing the lioness to constantly turn and lose focus. Under pressure from multiple sides, the lioness cannot maintain its initial control. It is forced to switch to a defensive state and gradually reduce its approach rate. The pack of wild dogs maintained their distance and prevented their formation from breaking. The confrontation ended when the lion released its target and left the pressure zone. In this section, the decisive factor lies in maintaining coordination throughout the process. A short-term advantage is insufficient when the surrounding space is controlled in reverse. When multiple pressure points appear simultaneously, a single attack becomes ineffective. In nature, collective control of space can completely alter the outcome. In many encounters, the result is not immediately clear. Small factors such as distance, timing, and reaction speed determine the outcome. A lion may start the attack with an advantage, but cannot always maintain control. Each phase of the attack requires adjustment based on the situation. In the wild, success depends on maintaining control and acting at the correct moment. In nature, every approach can turn into an irreversible situation. Big cats don't rely on sheer strength alone, but on how they close the distance unnoticed. When timing and location align, any subsequent reaction is almost certainly not quick enough. And it is in those brief moments that the outcome is decided before the actual confrontation begins. In their familiar pack movements, impalas maintain their vigilance by observing ahead and to the sides. They rely on speed, quick reflexes, and the ability to change direction to avoid danger on the ground. Their agile movements often allow impalas to regain distance in a very short time, but that observation doesn't always cover the space above. On a branch nearly 30 feet high, the female leopard lay still and held her position in absolute silence. She made no obvious movements, no signals sufficient for the impalas below to notice. When one came within sufficient distance, the leopard plummeted straight down from above. The approach was so quick, leaving almost no time for a reaction. The moment of impact completely disrupted the rhythm of the pack below. The impala didn't have time to regain distance in the usual way because the danger came from an unforeseen location. The leopard gains the advantage at the very first moment of contact. The ambush ends when the target no longer has enough space to make an escape. At the point of transition from stillness to pressure, the deciding factor is not a prolonged chase, but an approach that goes beyond the prey's familiar reflexes. When the threat comes from above, conventional defenses quickly lose their effectiveness. A small change in position can make a big difference in the outcome. In nature, altitude sometimes provides an advantage even before speed is used. In the midst of a herd's movement, wildebeest maintain their survival instincts by staying in sync with the group and reacting collectively. They rely on endurance, balance, and distance from the herd to reduce the risk of isolation. While in formation, The opportunity to escape pressure remains, but even a slight delay can quickly lead to the loss of safe distance. From behind, cheetahs begin to close the distance and keep their target within close range. When close enough, one cheetah pushes forward to block the breathing rhythm, while the other strikes the legs to disrupt balance. The wildebeest still resists and tries to maintain its posture, but the pressure from two directions completely breaks the rhythm of movement. The chase shifts to control in a very short time. Once the target loses its balance, the advantage shifts decisively to the cheetahs. The gap with the pack could not be closed again, and resistance diminished with each passing moment. But soon after, hyenas began appearing near the area where the hunt had just taken place. The initial situation closed very quickly, while new pressure immediately formed. As soon as new pressure appeared, the entire situation shifted to a different phase. A target separated from the group can be pressured very quickly, but any gains immediately face other risks. When time is short, each subsequent step becomes more important. In nature, gaining an advantage is difficult. Maintaining it is even harder.
Wow.
At close range in the low grass, the leopard maintains its hunting instincts with patience and precise control of each movement. It doesn't rush to accelerate, but instead closes the distance almost silently. Each approach is aimed at getting close enough to avoid prolonging the chase. This stability allows for highly accurate timing of the strike. Ahead, the wildebeest continues to move, unaware of the shrinking distance. The leopard keeps its body low, taking short strides and waiting for the moment its target loses its attention. When the distance is close enough, it springs up swiftly and presses down on the neck in the first move. The entire situation shifts from silence to almost direct contact with virtually no buffer. Completely surprised, the prey is unable to react strongly enough to regain the distance. The advantage shifted to the leopard right after the first accurate close-range approach. The hunt ended quickly without prolonging into a chase. In this situation, just one well-placed shot was enough to decide the entire outcome. In a highly competitive environment, hyenas maintain their survival instincts by observing quickly, keeping a flexible pace, and always seeking an escape route when pressure increases. They may be very confident when working in groups, but when separated from their support space, their reaction shifts to clear defense. Each step backward or change of direction is aimed at preserving the last remaining space. But when the escape route is closed, the entire situation begins to change. On the outside, the lion doesn't charge in immediately but approaches slowly, maintaining distance and gradually tightening its encirclement. Each direction of movement is controlled alternately, forcing the hyena to constantly turn without finding an escape route. The pressure increases not through a single push, but through a constant presence from multiple directions. The hyena is unable to mount a clear counterattack and gradually shifts entirely to a state of survival defense. When the situation is completely controlled, the outcome is almost predetermined before any major changes occur. The lion maintains control, while the hyena loses its ability to escape the pressure. The confrontation doesn't unfold with a rapid, aggressive tempo, but rather drags on to demoralize and weaken the opponent's options. The hyena loses from the outset, while the lion maintains its advantage without escalating too far. Once the situation is under control, the outcome is no longer dependent on individual attacks. One side doesn't need to exert its full strength. It only needs to prevent the opponent from having effective countermeasures. When psychological pressure is prolonged, the advantage becomes apparent even before the situation reaches a decisive point. In nature, controlling space is sometimes enough to secure a complete victory. In their early years, young wild dogs exhibit instinctive curiosity and free movement around a safe area. They often play, maintain little distance, and haven't yet developed fully developed reflexes to unexpected dangers. The presence of a pack provides a sense of security and stability. But when separated from that protection, their reactions become slower than usual. While the area remains calm, the lion is very close without being detected. The distance is shortened almost instantly while the target is still distracted. There is no prolonged chase, just a direct approach at very short range. The situation shifts from calm to tense in a very rapid manner. In the very first moment of contact, the ability to react effectively is almost eliminated. The young wild dog doesn't have time to switch to an effective defensive state and loses control from the very first second. The outcome is determined very early on when there is no room to escape the situation. The confrontation ends before any significant change can occur. After a brief period, the situation reveals a clear difference between perception and reality. When the distance is broken from the outset, any subsequent reactions lack sufficient time to develop. A moment of distraction can lead to a clear outcome. In nature, the younger generation always relies on maintaining a safe distance. Besides the familiar water's edge, capybaras maintain their survival instinct by staying close to areas where they can quickly retreat when necessary. They often choose low, easily observable positions and are ready to dive into the water when they sense danger. This habit of relying on familiar safe zones helps capybaras avoid much of the pressure on land. But when distance is misjudged, the escape reflex may come too late. Hidden in low vegetation near the shore, the jaguar keeps its body almost motionless and waits for a very short gap in attention. It doesn't move much, doesn't make clear signals, but simply narrows the distance patiently. When the capybara comes within range, the jaguar lunges out in a very short burst and closes in almost immediately. The capybara reflexively runs back into the water, but the detection distance is no longer sufficient to regain safe speed. When contact occurs at such close range, the advantage clearly shifts to the cheetah. The capybara doesn't have time to prolong its escape as usual, and its familiar retreat route is no longer effective. The ambush ends quickly as the target loses the opportunity to open up distance. In this situation, the deciding factor is not long-range speed, but the timing of the approach. In open, unprotected space, the buffalo prioritizes maintaining a direct line of sight and controlling the area in front of it. It constantly adjusts its position to avoid being forced into close range, while remaining ready to turn back when the distance shortens. Despite its declining physical condition, its defensive reflexes remain stable. As the distance continues to narrow, the situation shifts to a direct confrontation. At the edge of the area, signs of weakening begin to manifest as a cautious approach. The lion closes the distance step by step, maintaining a steady pace instead of immediately pressing. Just as it gets close, the buffalo turns and charges back to maintain its position, slowing down the approach. At that moment, a second individual appears behind, opening up another line of pressure. The pressure from two sides gradually destabilizes the defensive structure. The buffalo maintains one direction of resistance, but the other direction is no longer under control when the distance is kept close. The lion utilizes coordination to maintain continuous pressure, preventing the target from opening another escape route. The outcome is decided when the ability to maintain balance between the two directions is no longer sufficient. When the situation shifts to coordination, the outcome no longer depends on a single approach. A wounded target can still pose a threat if facing only one direction. But when pressure is evenly distributed and tightened, the options for reaction decrease rapidly. In nature, small changes in numbers can tip the balance sharply to one side. In sparsely vegetated areas and harsh climates, the honey badger consistently emerges as the dominant individual. It doesn't need superior speed or size to gain an advantage. The difference lies in its ability to maintain this advantage throughout the confrontation. The honey badger doesn't need to gain dominance immediately, but rather to sustain it over time. On the dry grasslands, the honey badger moves with a slow but steady pace. Its body, weighing only about 35 pounds, is enough to make other species wary. It doesn't rely on speed, but survives through endurance and resilience beyond limits. Its thick, loose skin reduces the impact of resistance, while its strong forelimbs and long claws allow it to quickly dig through the soil to reveal prey hidden beneath. Its strong jaws handle a variety of food sources, and in harsh environments, it continues its search without stopping. The difference lies in its reaction. It doesn't hesitate. It doesn't retreat. It always tries and keeps moving forward. In nature, the survivor is often the most persistent. Amidst the low grass, a venomous snake lies motionless, its body approximately 4 to 6 feet long, its head slightly raised to track its target. It senses vibrations acutely and maintains precise distance. Its attack speed can reach approximately 0.3 seconds, with enough reach to strike its target before it can react. The venom is delivered through 2 hollow fangs, potent enough to quickly affect the prey's body. When the honey badger enters the danger zone, the snake immediately adjusts its head angle and delivers a swift bite. After each attack, it retreats to a safe position and is ready to repeat when the distance is suitable. The snake's hunting instinct focuses on precision and timing, not wasting energy on unnecessary blows. The honey badger continues to advance. It actively enters the danger zone, accepting the risk rather than completely avoiding the attack. Its body possesses a certain degree of venom resistance, allowing it to remain active after being affected. Through several attempts to approach, it controlled the distance and gained the upper hand. Ultimately, the honey badger was the one that held the initiative and ended the confrontation. A pack of predators appears, hyenas possessing a bite force of nearly 1,100 pounds per square inch. They emit a constant roar and move in circles to create pressure from the outset. Instead of attacking immediately, they maintain distance and force the target to react repeatedly. The pressure gradually increases. One hyena approaches, then retreats, then another takes its place. This approach is repeated several times to test the target's reaction and find weaknesses. When the distance is close enough, they are ready to take control. The honey badger maintains its position but must react constantly. It turns in every direction, keeping its rear hidden and focusing on the nearest individual. When the distance becomes dangerous, it actively breaks through the approach and retreats immediately, then returns to a more advantageous position. After several attempts to get close, the hyena pack fails to establish clear control. The pressure gradually decreases, and they leave the area. In nature, you don't need to win. Simply not being controlled is enough to survive. In the open, the lion's presence quickly alters the surrounding rhythm. This predator relies on observation, stealthy approach, and explosive bursts of speed at short distances. With a body weight exceeding 400 pounds and powerful thrust from its hind legs, it controls the situation through timing and pressure. When facing a small honey badger, the lion doesn't rush to attack. It maintains distance, constantly adjusting its position and waiting for the right moment. Its hunting instinct forces it to calculate, as every wrong decision can waste unnecessary energy. The honey badger continues to advance. It doesn't change direction, doesn't slow down, and constantly rotates to keep its opponent under control. This stability creates counter pressure, forcing the lion to turn and flee. The situation changes. The lion doesn't continue to approach. It stops to avoid further energy expenditure and reduce the risk of injury. The honey badger maintains its position and doesn't retreat. In nature, a confrontation can end when one side no longer has a clear advantage. In the open space, a reptile predator appears, its body approximately 5 to 7 feet long, moving low to the ground and always keeping its head straight forward. The monitor lizard can accelerate quickly over short distances, enough to close in before its opponent can react. Thanks to its agility and high adaptability, it can confront many prey and survive in various harsh environments. When the honey badger approaches, the monitor lizard begins to react. When the distance is close enough, it uses its jaws to hold on and try to control the opponent. Each counterattack aims to push the opponent out of a favorable position. The honey badger does not retreat. It approaches at a low angle, avoiding the mouth area and focusing on the tail, the less dangerous area. It maintains constant pressure, advancing and then retreating slightly, repeating this many times. The events show that both rely on clear tactics. The monitor lizard controls with its tail and jaws, while the honey badger breaks the distance and maintains pressure. In the open space, the pack of wild dogs moves at a steady pace, each weighing approximately 40 to 55 pounds. Maintaining a reasonable distance and constantly adjusting their position. They approach their prey with close coordination, maintaining high speed and clearly dividing roles throughout the hunt. Upon spotting the honey badger, the pack begins to assess its reaction. Several individuals approach to exert pressure, while others maintain distance and wait for the opportune moment. They don't attack continuously, but repeat short approaches to find weaknesses. The honey badger stands firm. It turns in each direction of movement, always keeping its opponent in front and leaving no gap behind. There are no superfluous actions, only constant adjustments to avoid being surrounded. After several attempts, the pack of dogs finds no clear opportunity. They reduce the frequency of their approaches and gradually withdraw from the area. The honey badger continues to move at a steady pace. In nature, a group of predators may stop when the risks outweigh the benefits.
Here comes another one. Here comes another one.
In a predatory environment, the leopard is a solitary predator with high speed and powerful attacks, capable of quickly taking down prey weighing 70 to 150 pounds, keeping its body low and moving almost silently. It relies on its ability to camouflage itself, approach at close range, and deliver a precise pounce in a very short time. However, when encountering a honey badger, that advantage is no longer guaranteed. The honey badger approaches, stops, and then advances again. When the distance is close enough, it lunges in to gain control very quickly. After each approach, if it cannot maintain its position, it immediately stops to avoid risk. The honey badger reacts immediately when the distance is broken. It turns to keep its opponent in front, not allowing itself to be held for too long. When the leopard gets close, the honey badger counterattacks directly at the nearest point, then separates and returns to its control position. These reactions are short and continuous. After several attempts, the leopard lost its composure. It reduced its frequency of approaches and left the area. The honey badger continued to move at a steady pace. In nature, when control is lost, the hunt usually ends. In nature, every approach a lion makes to its target is a precisely calculated process. No two confrontations are alike, and each species responds differently. Distance and timing are always adjusted to the specific situation. The final outcome is always determined by the lion's ability to control distance and timing. On dry grasslands, giraffes maintain distance using their height and field of vision, reaching heights of up to 18 feet and weighing over 2,600 pounds. Each movement expands their safe zone. Their long legs help maintain a steady distance and make direct approaches difficult. However, that distance isn't always maintained. As soon as the pace slows, the lions swarm forward simultaneously, accelerating quickly and closing in from multiple directions. The distance narrows rapidly, and the surrounding space becomes constricted. The giraffe must constantly change direction, losing its initial trajectory in just a few movements. At close range, the approach becomes more rapid. One lion approaches low to disrupt the giraffe's movement, while another attacks from the flank, tightening the escape routes. The distance is broken down in bursts, forcing the giraffe to change direction abruptly and lose stability. The pressure is maintained at very close range, preventing the target from regaining their initial rhythm and distance. In this situation, height and size are insufficient to maintain an advantage. Teamwork remains the decisive factor shaping the outcome of the entire process. In areas with numerous burrows, warthogs often move near safe points before venturing out to forage. Adult warthogs, weighing 110 to 250 pounds, can accelerate quickly over short distances and turn back to their burrows when necessary. They maintain a clear advantage near their escape route, but as they move further, this distance diminishes and danger begins to appear. Lions accelerate aggressively from behind, closing the gap rapidly. When the warthog turns to find its way back to the burrow, the lion circles around to block its path, forcing it off the escape route. With its course disrupted, the warthog is forced to constantly change direction and lose momentum. The safe distance to return to the burrow is no longer sufficient. The pace slows as escape routes are partially blocked. At close range, the lion approaches directly in short bursts, maintaining a close distance and preventing the target from regaining speed. Ultimately, the warthog is trapped when there is no longer any space to escape. The lion restrains its target in a favorable position, gripping firmly by the neck to end the chase and drag the carcass away from the area. In this situation, the advantage only exists while there is still a way out. Once distance is lost, the ability to maintain safety rapidly diminishes, and the outcome is decided. In the vast grasslands, African buffaloes, with bodies weighing over 1,500 pounds, possess thick hides and curved horns that form a natural shield. Their movements are slow and controlled. There is no rush, only observation of their surroundings. This stability makes even small changes easily noticeable from a distance. On the outside, the lion pride doesn't rush to approach directly. They move in circles, maintaining distance and observing their target's reaction. Pressure is applied gradually, not abruptly. When the right moment arrives, multiple lions coordinate from different directions, forcing the buffalo to deviate from its general rhythm and gradually separate from the herd. When separated from the herd, the buffalo loses its most important protective layer. Despite its large size, it must cope with pressure from multiple directions simultaneously. Repeated approaches, prolonged overtime, gradually reduce its reaction speed. The distance is more tightly controlled, and the ability to maintain position is no longer as strong as it was initially. The process doesn't end in a single moment. Pressure is maintained continuously until the advantage shifts to the lion pride. Group coordination becomes the decisive factor and shapes the outcome of the entire process. On the dry grasslands, giraffes maintain distance using their height and field of vision, reaching heights of up to 18 feet and weighing over 2,600 pounds. Each movement expands their safe zone. Their long legs help maintain a steady pace, making direct approaches difficult. That stability was broken almost immediately. As soon as the pace slowed, the lions swarmed forward simultaneously, accelerating briefly and closing in from multiple directions. The distance narrowed rapidly, and the surrounding space became constricted. The zebras had to change direction constantly, losing their original trajectory in just a few movements. When the distance is very short, the approaches become rapid, with no clear pauses. One lion presses against the giraffe's lower body to interrupt its run, while another circles to the side, gradually blocking its movement. The space shrinks quickly, forcing the giraffe to constantly turn and lose its rhythm. The game ends when the surrounding space is completely controlled. In this situation, height and size are not enough to maintain an advantage. Coordination and the ability to apply pressure at the right time determine the entire outcome. Known as the largest animal in the animal kingdom, an adult elephant can weigh between 8,800 and 14,300 pounds and stand approximately 10 to 13 feet tall. Its thick skin, tusks, and flexible trunk provide effective defense. When necessary, elephants can move at speeds of 15 to 25 miles per hour, enough to maintain distance from most threats. However, lions don't approach head-on. Some press close to the elephant's body and rear to disrupt its movement, while others position themselves on either side to block its path. The elephant constantly changes direction, but the space around it is quickly compressed. At a close range, the contact occurs in rapid succession. Lions cling to the elephant's neck and body to maintain pressure, forcing it to move under duress. Its movement becomes unstable, and its ability to maintain distance is significantly reduced. The situation dragged on until the elephants were forced to leave the area to relieve pressure. The lions maintained coordination and control of the surrounding space. In this situation, sheer size was not enough to maintain an advantage when pressure was sustained. Group coordination and timing were the decisive factors in determining the outcome. The most effective hunters of the grasslands, the wild dogs. Each wild dog weighs 40 to 80 pounds, but their strength lies in their stamina and endurance. They can maintain speeds of 31 to 37 miles per hour for extended periods, with a hunting success rate of 70 to 80%. Their tactics rely on pack action, relentless pursuit, alternating pressure points, encircling when prey slows, and gradually biting from behind. When encountering a lion pride, the wild dogs actively approach from multiple directions. They move quickly, constantly changing positions to create pressure. However, the lions do not retreat. They maintain their position, turning in the direction of approach and waiting for the opportune moment to react. When the wild dog's attack begins to slow down, the formation loses its uniformity. Some wild dogs must split up to avoid getting too close. The lions take advantage of this moment to advance, close the distance, and control the surrounding area. The game ends when the pack of wild dogs can no longer hold their original position and are forced to leave. The lions maintain their position and control the area. In this situation, speed and pursuit tactics are insufficient to maintain an advantage against the lion's strength and ability to hold their ground. In an open field, two male lions stood still, maintaining their distance and observing each other, each weighing over 400 pounds. Their strength was not significantly different. The important thing now wasn't to attack, but to maintain their position. The distance gradually shortened as one began to advance, creating pressure through distance. The other didn't retreat immediately, but moved more cautiously. They approached briefly, then stopped, as if waiting for the other to make a mistake. The difference emerged when one began to slow down. It retreated further, maintaining greater distance and gradually losing control of its position. The pressure was maintained continuously, preventing it from regaining its balance. When one left the area, the outcome was clear. The other held its space without needing to advance. In this situation, controlling its rhythm and position determined the entire outcome. In the sky, birds of prey always have the advantage from the start. They observe first, maintain a high vantage point, and only act when the opportunity is clear. Each approach is swift and precise, leaving little time for their opponent to react. And in most situations, they are the ones in control and win. In midair, birds of prey don't just fly. They observe, maintain distance, and wait for the right moment to control the space. Each species has its own approach. Some dive down at speeds exceeding 150 miles per hour. Others approach in near absolute silence. Their bodies have been perfected over millions of years. Curved talons tighten upon impact. Long wings maintain balance during a dive. Eyes can lock onto movement from over a mile away. Every characteristic points toward an approach that wastes no opportunity. But the sky isn't as vast as it seems. It's a space of constant competition, where many species coexist and are forced to choose different hunting methods to survive. Some choose speed, some choose patience, some rely on timing and location. And in this world, results don't come from sheer power alone. It comes from the right decisions, formed over time, and only lasts if they are truly effective. Among birds of prey, eagles don't need to rush. Their wingspan of over 7 feet allows them to maintain stability at great heights. Their eyesight is about 8 times sharper than humans, enough to detect subtle movements from over a mile away. Eagles don't fly continuously using their strength. They glide along warm air currents to conserve energy, observing their entire environment before making a decision. On a rocky mountainside, a mountain goat begins to slow down as the terrain becomes steep and narrow. From above, the eagle, having been watching beforehand, maintains its distance and waits in the right position. The eagle descends gradually with the wind, approaching from a blind spot in the terrain. No prolonged collision is needed. A single swoop is enough to bring down the mountain goat. The space changes, but the approach remains constant. When a venomous snake surfaces near the water's surface, the eagle adjusts its trajectory, maintains stability, and dives down at the precise moment. The eagle's beak grips tightly, lifting its target out of its familiar environment. Control is established instantly, and the snake has no chance of escaping its defeat. From the high mountains to the water's surface, every event follows a clear sequence. Observe, wait, then control. The eagle doesn't rely on sheer strength. It relies on intelligence, on conserving energy, and on its ability to choose the right moment. As darkness falls, the space becomes quieter, and that's when the owl takes control. Owls don't need light to see. They can rotate their heads nearly 270 degrees, expanding their field of vision without moving their bodies. Their specially structured wings allow them to fly almost silently, keeping the entire area in absolute silence. In the low grass, a very small movement appears. The owl doesn't react immediately. It stands still, listening, locating its prey with its hearing in the darkness. When all signals become clear, the owl lowers and swoops down at a speed of about 30 miles per hour, a movement with almost no warning. The outcome is decided in that instant. The small prey, before it even realizes the danger, is completely subdued. And this isn't a one-time occurrence. It happens night after night, hundreds, thousands of times each year. Red foxes, skunks, and hawks are no match for it. They all form a precise, cold-blooded, yet essential hunting chain for survival. In the darkness, where vision is unreliable, the greatest advantage isn't strength. It's the ability to become invisible and control space without leaving a trace. In the swamp, everything is almost still, and the shoebill maintains that stillness. Nearly 5 feet tall, with a wingspan of about 8 feet, its beak almost a foot long, it forms a heavy, sturdy figure. The shoebill doesn't move. It holds its position, observing for a long time until the environment reveals its weakness. Under the murky water, prey glides past unnoticed. The shoebill remains motionless. It listens, locks position, waits for the moment of vulnerability. Then the movement happens quick, precise. A single beak strike closes the distance. The outcome is decided in that instant. The prey has no time to react before being subdued. The prolonged wait turns into an advantage in a very way. Unlike other predators, vultures don't seek out the dead. They survive on what's already dead. Thanks to their keen sense of smell and eyesight, they can detect food sources from tens of miles away. They hover long periods in the air, flapping their wings infrequently to conserve energy and observe constantly. When one detects a carcass, the vulture begins to descend. Others quickly fly in the same direction. In a short time, many gather in the same area. They rely on observing each other's movements to determine location. When the vulture lands, the major danger is usually over. The food source is readily available. They approach immediately and eat quickly to utilize their energy before competition arises. Time is shortened to reduce risk. The entire process follows a clear sequence: detection, concentration, then utilization. They don't need to be faster or stronger than other species. As the national animal of Australia, kangaroos are notable for their muscular physique and impressive strength. Kangaroos can stand over 6 feet tall, with powerful hind legs and sharp claws. They balance on their tails and can deliver powerful kicks in self-defense when threatened. On the ground, they are not easily controlled. In the middle of a withered field, an eagle observes from above, targeting a kangaroo. The kangaroo maintains its altitude, chooses its approach angle, and then swoops down rapidly. The pounce happens in an instant, focusing on the moment the kangaroo is off guard. That moment is not enough for a full reaction. The outcome is decided immediately after the collision. The eagle dominates for the first few seconds and maintains the pace of the attack. Its increasing speed leaves the kangaroo unable to defend itself, forcing it to turn or move away. The events unfold quickly. The kangaroo begins by selecting its target, then executes a precise dive and immediately shifts to control. In this situation, ground strength is not readily available. The deciding factors are the initial speed and accuracy of the approach. On the ground, lizards control with their endurance. Their long, heavy bodies, thick skin, and powerful bite help them stay grounded in a fight. They don't need speed, they hold their position, advance slowly, and wait for their opponent to make a mistake. But that advantage only lasts when the battle takes place on the ground. From above, the hawk observes in silence. The hawk keeps its distance, waits for the right moment, then swoops down at speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour. There is no warning. The moment of approach happens before the lizard realizes it. The outcome is decided the moment of contact. The lizard loses control before it can react. The advantage of endurance is meaningless once the pace has changed. The hawk is defeated by the hawk's talons. In this confrontation, it's not the stronger one who wins. It's the one who controls the first moment. The hawk appeared, acted, and then departed before danger could even materialize, and it was speed and audacity that ultimately determined the outcome. Higher altitudes always offer a clear advantage. It's a combination of observation, timing, and precision in every movement. Each species employs a different strategy, but all aim for the same outcome. And in most situations, it is the birds of prey that control the situation and win.